Hey y'all, it is cold outside and it is a good day to just stay in and paint. So that's what I'm going to do. I apologize in advance for not being able to see who is on here with me or to be able to check the comments. I'm going to work on learning how to do that, but as of now, I'm not good at it. So if you have any questions about what we're doing later, please feel free to ask in the comments and I'll get back to you. I'm just not real techie, and sometimes learning to do these new things is a stretch for me. I was born in the 1900s, you know. Gen Xer, the end of 71 model. So anyhow, first thing we're going to do is get a cute background painted on. So I'm using these three colors. Actually, these two right here are pretty much the same thing. I'm just trying to use up some paint that's almost gone. So I started out with this Apple Barrel Aqua Sky, but I mostly use deco art now. So I'm also doing some of this, I can't get in the frame, I'm sorry, Bahama Blue, anyway. And we're just gonna get that on there with some textured strokes. Again, I'm just emptying out some paint today. And then we are going to use this tracer to make a cute little Valentine painting. So, anyway, I'm going to start out just to get a background done with this. Well, that's kind of stiff. It's actually really stiff. I don't know if I didn't get all the paint out. Yeah, I can see a little bit right there. I need to get some of my linseed oil brush cleaner, but it'll do to paint this. We're just going to start out on the background with some of this Bahama Blue and Aqua Sky and some white, and just kind of get it in different areas of the brush. Sometimes I dip just one corner and all that stuff, but this time I'm just getting it all over there and we're just mixing it in. So just get you some of each of those colors and just do this little kind of like a figure 8 or a back and forth swooshing motion. You can kind of see how it's just kind of sweeping it on there in X's kind of. And we're not going for even, we're not going for blended, we're going for this streaky pattern here. Of course, you can do it however you want to. That's what painting's all about, and being creative is all about. It's about taking a project and just making it your very own. So, you know, if you decide to use this tracer, you can do it like I do if you want to, but just feel free to 100% make it your own, because that kind of makes it fun when you can add your own personal touch to a painting. And I'm just blending that all out until I like how it looks. And when you do yours, you just blend it all out until you like it. And right now I'm thinking I haven't really put enough white. It's looking a little bit like it's all the same, so I'm going to put some more white down and load my brush. Sorry if that's jarring the camera. With a little bit more of that. I've moved my garbage can and I'm having trouble finding it. But anyway, just kind of swoosh in some more of that if you want to. Again, you do not have to. It's whatever feels like a good thing to you that you're gonna like to look back at. So the background for this painting doesn't take long at all. And yes, I'm using this little bitty, I guess it's an 8.5 by 11 art board. But even if you use a little bigger canvas, this part should not take you long. So I'm just going to put that brush in the water to soak for a minute. And I apologize in advance for the noise that this thing makes, but I'm going to dry this completely before we use our tracer. This is such a light coat of paint. It ought to be about dry, and I think it is. I just want to make sure, because when you're using a tracer, if your paint is not dry, it can just really goop up. It can just really goop up the paper and not look good. But we're just taking this graphite paper, just tracing paper that you can get on Amazon or pretty much anywhere. And you want to lay that shiny side down on top of your background that you just painted. And I don't know why I put that face down on there. That's not what we want. We want it face up. But anyway, just kind of center it up the way you want it. And on this one, you know, it really doesn't matter where you position it on your paper. As long as it's not lapping over the edges, it's going to be fine. And what you want to do now, well, what I want to do right now is get my glasses, or I may really mess this up. I don't know why. I don't already have them on. Okay, I'll see it. And now I'm just going to take, excuse me, just a regular old ink pen and get ready to trace this. You can do it with a pencil. It really does not matter. It just does seem like it flows a little smoother with a pen, and for some reason it keeps my hand from getting quite so tired. I know that sounds crazy, but something about just the smooth flow of a pen just kind of makes this step just a little bit easier. Just make sure you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's, even though I say that, but at the same time, that won't be a big deal to freehand, and if you forget it, it's not a huge deal, because we're going to go over these letters with to thicken up parts of them and leave parts of them thin to make them look a little more like calligraphy anyway, if you want to. Again, that is an optional step, but I've been trying to work on my hand lettering, and I think hand lettering with a tracer counts. How about you? But we'll make it look a little cuter when we go back in with our paint pen. This tracer right here is an original tracer I did from some clip art. I'm in a clip art membership, and I did this tracer with some of their elements. I'm trying to work on doing more of my own tracers, even though I am in some memberships where I can get some pre-made tracers that are commercially licensed for me to use in paint parties or whatever. I do also have a Shopify store where I sell my original tracers as well as things like t-shirt, I can't talk today, t-shirt designs and things of that nature. I've been designing t-shirts for a long time now. I still love designing t-shirts, but I have found that actually painting is even more stress relieving than the designing shirts. And that's a big part of art for me, is a way to just chill out and unwind. And I find that it's also, especially when I teach paint parties, it's just a good way to connect with other women and just get some downtime and some girl time when, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's hard to get that in. So on this tracer, I have not done the feet. We're going to freehand those in later because they're just so little, and I think it would have been tricky to get them on there. But this is what your tracer is going to look like when you're getting started with your actual paint. So I'm going to take the plate I was using. I reuse plates. They get in a big old mess, but you can reuse plates over and over again. But you know what? Oh no. I also did not, I get to talking and I don't realize what I'm doing. I didn't do the little girl bird's face and her, her little wing there. So I'm just going to take just a regular pencil and freehand that in, just in the interest of time, because getting that lined up would probably take me longer than it's going to take to just do this. So that's why I say, you know, just be sure that you're taking the time to finish tracing your design out all the way, because it's, you know what, let's start with the letters. I'm doing this backwards than what I normally do. I normally paint everything first, but this time I'm just going to grab this black Posca paint pen, and we're just going to start in with the letters. If you know anything much about hand lettering, when you go down, it's a heavier stroke. As you're going up, it's lighter. With these Posca pens, you can't really control the pressure all that much. So what I like to do is just go back over it in the spots that should have heavier pressure. So where I'm going down, that would be darker, thicker lines. Where I'm going up, that's going to be thinner lines. But we'll just have to fake that when we go back over with the second coat. So I guess what I'll do is maybe let this dry a little bit. And you can even leave it like that. That is not terrible. But I do think we might be able to make it a little bit cuter, making the thicker and thinner lines. But for right now, I'm going to start with this color called Blue Bonnet. I'm having really a lot of trouble getting in the frame today for the boy bird. And I don't know what that is on him. I guess that's his wing. Okay. And I'm hoping this blue bonnet color is not going to cover him completely as far as covering over the lines inside, because we want to have those to be able to look back at. I don't want to have to be careful about going over all that. So So I think what I'm going to do, just to make sure they show up, I'm just going to take a plain old Sharpie and just go over this little wing and the heart. And his little beak. And we could probably freehand the eyes, but we won't. I'm going to do the same thing for her. Because I just think this is going to be a time saver, you know. If we had to freehand all that in, if just for instance it doesn't show, if our lines didn't show through, that is going to kind of be a pain, and I'm all about easy. So you can just paint right over that, and like for the little parts around his tail, just tip that brush up on its end and let the brush work for you so that you don't have to worry about all those little letters. A lot of things you can do just by turning the brush a different way in a small area, and that flat side's going to get this, and I don't know if you can see, but that is going to allow the birdie to just peek through. And I just want to give a shout out to I'll try to think and tag her in this, but Tiffany Hartman at Peachy Designs. She's the one that does all this clip art. I do some clip art sometimes, but just being part of her membership makes it so much easier. Like, all I had to do was just use some of her clip art to make this a tracer, and that just helped tremendously. I can draw a little bit on Procreate, but Tiffany at Peachy Designs is a pro. She's so good, and her work is so cute. And I use her graphics for my t-shirt designs, and I've just started using them for this too. So it's just a good, I probably should have left that heart hollow, but it's okay. We'll fill it in maybe with some gray and make that work. So I'm just going to rinse that brush right quick. And if it looks like I am in my pajamas today, it is because I am. I try not to make a habit of doing that, but it is so cold outside. I've only been outside once all day, and that was to unload some things that I got out of my booth. But I knew I was not going anywhere today, and I was pretty sure nobody was coming here, so I just stayed in my pajamas. My husband's even home today because the roads could have been icy this morning. We didn't get out to find out. But this color is called Cactus Flower. It's by Deco Art, and it's one that I actually use a whole bunch. But this is the color of the little girl bird. And I'm just going to paint all over her lines too. We'll figure it out. Makes it easier to not have to worry about getting in all those little tiny places. And one side of this brush has a little point. I don't always use a brush like that. A lot of times for something like this, I would just be using my little 1/4 inch flat brush, and that's fine too. But this is just the one I picked up, and it is helping me get in these little places. So you can order all kinds of brushes on Amazon. And at Hobby Lobby, you can get, well, and at Walmart too, actually, you can find little packs of inexpensive brushes, and that's what I use. I don't invest in expensive brushes because I would probably just ruin them. I'm not real good at being super fastidious about brush cleaning. I try to take care of them as well as I can, and I do occasionally use my linseed oil studio soap, but for blending and all, especially, I think it would be hard on, well, it's hard on any brush, I guess, but it would be super hard on a, what am I trying to say? It would be really hard on a good brush. In other words, I try to use brushes that it wouldn't be the end of the world if I ruined it, I guess is what I mean. So these hearts right here, you can switch to a smaller brush if you would like to. Just try to keep that paint off the very edge, and so that it's not making a ridge there. And we're going to do some outlining after we get all this done. Just some lines to make it more pulled together. But for right now, we just want to go and fill in the color. And let's see, what can we do here? I think down here, I want to use, I think I'll do the little heart, the pink, and the big one in the, what was that color? Blue bonnet? Yeah, blue bonnet. And a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, not too long ago, I did some birds that were just silhouettes for Valentine's Day. And if you'd like to go and check out those on my YouTube channel, they're just a little bit more, I don't know, not sophisticated, but a little bit more realism, I guess you would say, than these are. But my YouTube channel is King Gap Creatives, and same thing for my Shopify store. That's the name of it, is King Gap Creatives. Okay, so now I think I'm gonna pick up a little bit of a smaller brush, and I'm gonna start on some of the pieces of our banner. But before that, I'm just going to use this other little brush out of another set to fill in the heart that is the same color as the boy bird. Or the man bird, whatever. And I do have some littler brushes that I probably could be using for this part, but I'm just going to try to get this done as quick as I can. I am not the quickest painter at all. It takes me a while still. But I think I'm getting a little bit faster. I've been painting pretty consistently, you know, at least a couple times a week since probably about June of 25. So I think maybe that's helping me a little bit. And right there, you can just kind of twist your brush to round that off and get that filled in. So there's that. Now, I had not thought much about what other colors to do the bunting in. So I'm going to start off just doing the ends, the colors of the birds. So I'll do, I guess, a blue one down on this end, and then we're going to come in with some more colors. Like there's a color called Joyful Pink that I think would be really good for some of these. And then we'll even do some little patterns on some of them too. I think that'd be cute. And just get all that done before we start with our line work and filling in the letters a little bit better. Just trying to get that one back to a point. I kind of got too big with my brush stroke there, and it didn't look too hot, but that'll work. And once you step back from it, little imperfections like that, you're really just not going to notice them as much. Am I still in the frame? Hopefully. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to come to this side. And again, just use that point on the side of the brush to do that. Just getting in the V of that banner or bunting or whatever you want to call it. I've been noticing that. This is totally off the subject, but I love watching, especially like historical fiction, I guess you could say, like Downton Abbey. I love watching BBC. And have you noticed, if you watch that, how often they use the banners like this? Like anything from weddings to fairs to whatever. They're going to throw up a banner, and I love it. I think it's so pretty. So what I'm thinking is in the very middle, I'm going to use this color called Joyful Pink. So let's see, I've got 6 of these left, so I guess there's not a very middle, but I'm going to do the one that falls just kind of best between the two lovebirds. And I think at this point though, I should have straightened up before I started this, but oh well. I think at this point I am going to switch to this little brush and the Joyful Pink by Deco Art. It is cold outside, but it is really hot in my craft room today for some reason, so the paint is drying like insanely fast, which I guess is a good thing. It keeps me from getting my hands in wet paint when I'm trying to paint something else. So, and I'm using fairly thin layers too. That makes a difference. And I may end up going over some of it again, but I don't know. It seems to be showing up fairly good. I thought I might do a little bit more to the girl bird though, maybe, since she's that light pink color. And I'm trying to think about some more colors for the bunting. I think I'll throw in another of the Joyful Pink back here. I'm just trying to space them out well enough that it's interesting. And I could, I guess, throw in maybe some yellow or something, but I don't know that yellow is really the move for this painting. I guess I'm just weird, but yellow is not one of my very favorite colors. It just depends on the shade, though, I guess. I definitely don't hardly ever wear yellow. It does not do me any favors. But some people look great in it. I don't know. I guess it just depends on your skin and hair, but it is not my vibe. Although, I wonder if I use some of like this sunset gold that I'll still have on this plate, if that wouldn't look cute on this. But this is, I don't know, the sunset gold is not a very Valentine-y color, I don't think. And this is definitely a Valentine painting. Would it clash too much? I wonder to put a little of this Tuscan red on there. I normally would not do that and mix it up in that way, but I'm going to try it because it's Valentine's Day, and why not have a little red? And if we don't like it, we'll paint over it. It's just paint. Can't hurt it. It's easy to cover over, even if we end up having to prime it with some gray before we do, because gray is a really good primer for reds and for pinks. So we'll just see what it'll do. Let's put one for now. This is kind of out of my comfort zone because there was a time when seeing pink and red side by side would trigger me. I'm funny about colors, like whether it goes on the color wheel or not, if it doesn't go in my mind, I have trouble with that. So I guess I'm just a weirdo, but certain colors, like side by side, can even mess with my emotions. Like certain colors together make me sad. That's so strange, I know, but I guess I'm just weird. But I can't think right now what a color combination that would make me feel sad would be, but when I see it, I know it. I've even gone so far as to move things around in my closet so that I'm not seeing colors together that disturb me. I know some of you are probably diagnosing me right now. And hey, I feel you. I've diagnosed myself many times. And my family members have too. They tell me all the time what all I've got going on. All in good fun, though. And my daughter's theory, and I think she's not far from wrong, is that we're all a little bit on the spectrum. It just depends on, and when I say all, as in everybody is a little bit on the spectrum. It just depends on where on the spectrum you fall, and that's all for the purpose of making life interesting. And I think that's probably about right. You know, what fun would it be if we were all just alike? God gave us all different personalities and abilities, limitations even. We're all different for a reason, and it's all to make a contribution in this world. And I decided I am going to use some of this sunset gold, mainly because I just don't know what else to use for those other bunting bits. And I'm going to come back and do some patterns and textures on there anyway. I'm going to try this 1/4 inch brush. That is one that I use in my paint parties a whole lot, because it's small enough to use the points and get it up on its tiptoes like that, but it's not so small that it's going to take somebody forever to paint with it. This one has seen better days. I think I've probably mushed it around too much, but I think it's good enough that we can get, see what I mean? I don't know if you can see it on camera, but where it's supposed to be just very flat and thin, it's somehow puffed up a little bit, so that makes it a little bit harder. I'm not hating that with the yellow. What do you think? Well, I got out of line a little bit right there. I could use a baby wipe. Baby wipes are very life-saving sometimes, but I think once we get our outlines on there, it's going to be okay anyway. So I'm just getting down in the little pointy places. Yeah, I think the yellow is going to be just fine. And I believe that's what I'm going to use for their little beaks and maybe even their feet. I'm not sure if their feet should be... Their feet should probably be black though, right? I guess. But hey, that's the good thing about when you're doing an art piece. You can use whatever colors you decide to. So... I'm thinking for their beaks, yes. For their feet, though, I am going to come in and do them black. So, I should not have dipped that. I really didn't mean to. Sorry about that. You know I'm not going to make it through a live without tipping the camera at least once. Let's see if we can get it back. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay, maybe that's good now. Oh, I hate when I do that. Alright, beaks. I think I need a littler brush. For that, I'm using just this little tiny one. And... I think by the time we get our outlines done, that's going to pop a little better than it does right now. Just getting those, and I'm trying to remember on the sample picture. I think it was just maybe her wing was the color of his body and vice versa. That's what we're going to do. And if we don't like that, we can always go back over her wing with some joyful pink. I think that would be a good color combination. But y'all, my paint is drying out. I told you it's hot up here. To be so cold outside, I guess it's because we've got the heat cranked up in the house, and because it is very cold, and this is upstairs and all the heat is rising. I don't know, because there's times it's cold in this room, so I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, that's probably the warmest I've been all day long, and we're in Alabama, so we don't hardly ever see days that are quite this cold. And this is the first year, and to anybody that's still having to do it, I'm not bragging, I'm just can't help but not say it though. I can't help but say it. This is the first year that I have not had to do car riders at school. I'm recently retired from 25 years as a school counselor, and part of the job of being a school employee with no homeroom is that you get pulled for all sorts of duty, and I am very thankful today to not have car duty out in the freezing cold. That's one thing I definitely don't miss about working. But I'm just gonna say this whole retired thing, you know, I thought that it was gonna be nothing but just big fun and pleasure and all, and it has been. But it's also a scary time. You know, you're figuring out how to live on less money. Because I've come out of work long before I'm able to draw Social Security or anything like that. I've come out before I can even draw my annuity. I do have my retirement from the state of Alabama, but I can't touch the annuity that I have paid into until I'm 55. So I've still got a little ways to go with that. So but the whole point of retiring was not to not have to work anymore. It was to work at something where I could more freely express myself and chase some dreams. And the painting, that's it for me. I love being able to be creative and craft and paint and share that with other people too. So it's it is a scary time, but it's a fun time too. I don't know. I don't know if I could adequately explain it. It's weird, but it's a good weird. Okay, so I'm rambling. So while this is getting a little more dry, I'm going to just go over, or not go over, I'm going to give some character to these bunting thingies. So I'm going to need a little of the red down again, because that little drop I put down before is just about dry. And I'm just going to dip this end of my brush in paint and just do some little dots. If you want your dots to be the same size, you should probably dip your brush every single time. If you want them to vary some, then don't dip it every time, and that way some of the paint comes off every time. So I'm just going to do these in dots, and then I'm thinking I probably should have thought this through before we started, but I'm the queen of not thinking it through. Always. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I will even go so far as to sit down and plan my whole piece with all the colors on my iPad using Procreate, but not always. Okay, so actually I meant to do another one of those and didn't. I think maybe some dots on that one too, and then we'll do something else with the others. But this is just a real easy little technique just to get some patterns. We could do some stripes. We could even do some leopard print if I can find a little bitty brush that's good for that. Let's see. How about some white stripes on some of these? So, tiny brush. That's what we're looking for. Maybe like this. That's a little bitty. Look at that. The end on that is so little you can't hardly... I don't know. We're going to try it anyway. A little more white. Okay, maybe I can be steady enough to get this to look good, I hope. Yeah, that's not terrible. Just a little texture. I wonder if I could make like some little tiny hearts on the red. I don't know if I can or not. I don't know if it's going to be if I can find a brush that little to make them look good. Okay, let me think about that a minute. Okay, so for the pink, even though I am telling the truth, I do not much care for pink and red together. In this case, I'm going for it, and I do not hate it. Just dotting that in with the end of the brush. Again, that is such a simple little technique that just gives you that little bit of something that you need. I'm gonna try. I don't think I'm gonna do leopard. So I'm gonna try to make some little tiny hearts. I'm probably gonna be holding my breath to do it though, because that, even though that brush is little, it is splayed out a little bit, and that makes it kind of hard to make it do exactly what I want it to do. But you know what? We're gonna try it anyway. Yeah, we are, but not with that brush. That is not gonna work. How about this little pointy brush? I think that might be better. We're gonna see what it'll do. It's at least not as splayed as that other one is. And if you had like a little bitty acrylic pen, you could do your hearts like that with the pen, but I just don't have a little bitty. I've got my bigger Posca pens, and I've got some black pens by I can't remember the company, but that's okay because I probably would not recommend them, just simply because I bought them specifically for a party that I was doing back in November that required a little bit of lettering. I mean, they started with a tracer, but still, you needed a smaller pen to do the lettering. And y'all, when I tell you that most of those pens that I ordered, again, back in November, and it's only January, and most of them are either dried out already, or the felt part is coming loose from the barrel of it, and it's just not, they're not good quality. So I can't remember the name of them, but what I will say, when I'm ordering pens, I pretty much know I'm always going to get a good thing with the Posca. They are very dependable, and I'm pretty sure I haven't ordered any of the finer tips, but I think you can. Artistro also makes a good product. The name of those others are on the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to say anything bad about them. I will say, I just wouldn't order any kind of pens, paint pens, without seeing the reviews. And I definitely would not order a big multi-pack again without trying out just a single pen or two, because that's what happened. I got a big bulk pack for that party, and they're just not any good. So Artistro or well, oh yeah, sometimes things just leave my mind. Posca. Artistro or Posca, you pretty much know you're getting a good product there. And I'm not getting paid to say that or anything. That's just been my experience. So, there we go. We've got our little bit of texture in. That's turning out to be really, really colorful. And I think right now, I'm just going to hit it with a little heat for a second. I apologize in advance for the noise. I just really don't want to get my hand in anything wet. And it's not that I mind having paint on myself. It's that I mind messing up things that I've worked at. So those seem to be pretty dry. So now I'm just going to start back at the top. And I said I was not going to say anything bad, but don't order these. They're called Shuttle Art. And it's an acrylic paint marker. But they're not good. So, anyhow, I said what I said. So, coming down, like with the L, that's the thicker. So, you just want to kind of go and make that a little thick. That part I'm leaving thin. And for the O, the coming down thick, the going back up is thin. I'm going to leave the little connector thin. But then when I start down with that part of the V, I made it thicker. Okay, coming around, we're going to leave that thin, and as we go back up, but then we'll thicken up the side of the E there. And as we're going down, that's going to be thick. Coming up is thin. And around, we'll leave it the same. Thicken that up a little bit. Down thick, up thin. Down thick, up thin, down thick. Down a little thick. For a T, I don't know. Up thin, down thick. Across, we're leaving that the same, around that way, and then thicken up the side of the E just a bit. And then that down stroke of the A, a little thicker. And then down stroke of the I, going up, and then down with that a little, making it thicker, and then there we go. Just giving it a little more interest. It still does not have, really, to me, that calligraphy look, but it does make the letters look a little bit better. So now, I'm just taking that same super thin pen again, and to me, this is where the really cool stuff starts to happen. When you start getting your line work in, it just makes it look so much better. So all you need for that is just some black. And we're just going to start going around stuff. Just giving it some outlines to just kind of make it pop. And the thing about this, you want to use alternating amounts of pressure. That's what makes it look good. Like thicker and thinner in spots. It doesn't have to be the same everywhere. You don't really want it to be, for that matter. So, and if your brush splays a little bit and makes some little brush marks, that's good too. It just makes it, it gives it that good hand-painted feel. And then you can even go to the outsides and do a little bit more later if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and get his eyes. And around the beak. I feel like I have been all over the place today. I feel like if you don't know me and this is the first time you saw me, you're going to think I'm crazy. But I hope if you think I'm crazy, it's in a good way. I'll go ahead and go around the side of her face there. And then down. I'm just trying to go slow and keep my hand out of what's still wet. There. I probably need to do just a little bit of shading on their bodies too, I think. But anyway, I don't always jump around this much. Sometimes it's worse. I think sometimes I don't know. I just talk. Whether it makes sense or not. Go around these little beaks and one thing I do like about this one, and I don't always hit it right when I make my own tracers, because they're, I don't know, sometimes just getting the colors right is a big part of it. And I did some snow people here a few weeks ago that to me just kind of felt a little flat. They just didn't have as much texture and color and dimension as I'd wanted. And I think I learned something from that though, to just next time I do snow people, they don't have to be just a solid flat white. I can add in some different off-whites and different things to make it look, give it a little more oomph. But I'm feeling all the bright colors in this one. Alright, so I'm just gonna carefully try to do their feet. Before I forget to do their feet, I'm just gonna make them some little bitty legs and just some little feet that go down onto the, some little birdie legs and feet. I almost forgot about that. That had just been kind of hovering above the line, wouldn't they? There, I think that'll work. Now to get the string on the banner. I'm kind of holding my breath because I definitely don't want that too thick. I think too thick would just look yucky. But I will be booking some paint parties for this one because I am actually liking the way it turned out. And another thing I like about it is that you could absolutely make any kind of patterns you choose, whatever you wanted to do with this little banner. I think that's one thing I like best about it. And these I'm just starting from the bottom and pulling up because to me that just somehow seems a little easier than trying to work my way down. I don't know, but it's whatever works best for you. I always enjoy seeing the lines go on and seeing what a huge, huge difference it makes. Because I forget, sometimes in the middle of the project, what we like to call sometimes the messy middle, it really is looking messy and kind of like, oh, I don't know. But then you start getting your line work in and you realize, hey, that is cuter than I thought. And sometimes when you step back from it too, it's cuter than you think it's going to be. So just remember that if you're right in the middle of a painting and you're thinking, I just really don't like how this is going, just remember, it's going to look better once you get your detail work done. And it's also going to look better when you hold it out from your face some. Like when you're this close, of course you're going to see all the imperfections, but you hold it out from you and you don't notice it as much. And sometimes I'll paint something and I'll think, that wasn't my favorite, don't like it that much. And then the next day I look again and it's like, oh my gosh, I love it. So I think sometimes you just need to give your eyes a little break from it. And then when you come back to it later, you're going to realize it is so super cute. And I usually do my outlining in black. I guess you could do it in white if you wanted to. But to me, black just really does help all the colors pop. It's just gives it such a bold outline. So that's my go-to color when it comes to outlines, is the black. Okay, and so now I'm just gonna get around these last two little hearts and then give the birds a little bit of shading, and we're gonna be just about done. Again, you could do this part with a little fine-tipped acrylic marker if you want to. I tend to use a brush just because I normally like the way my work looks with a brush, but it's truly just a matter of personal preference, I think. Like, yeah, I'm just going to go in with just a bit of white here and there. I think my white paint has dried up So I'll need to put down just a teeny bit more. I think for the boy and girl bird, though, I'm going to see if I can spritz the paint on my plate and bring to life what's already there. I really don't want to waste any more. There's some white. I might could even do that. Sometimes the spray bottle is super handy when paint starts drying out. You can just kind of mix around a little bit after you squirt it and get it back to being liquefied. Just don't get any of the gumpies, the dried up skim. You know, try not to get that on your brush. That right there, I heard somebody one time call them paint boogers. You don't want paint boogers on your work, but if you can just get the liquefied part without the stringy gumpies, that's going to be good. So to do this, I'm just taking, I guess that's about a 1/2 inch brush. I can't tell. The side says it's a number 10. But I'm just going to dip one corner in the pink and the other corner in the white. And I'm going to go in and just give her a little swoosh. Maybe give a little bit on her tail too. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with him, but with, well, wait a minute though. First, I want to get in this little heart the same way. So a little pink and a little white, and I think I may have gotten those muddled up too much. So let me get a little brush. And I know I'm not taking super good care of my brushes today, but when I take them downstairs, I will go over them good. Or at least I will rinse them really good. But when you do that, take your white tip to the outside. And maybe go a little bit around his head too. Maybe I should have gotten a little bit of her head that way too. But anyway, I'm just trying to give them a little bit of shading. Just down one side of the heart. And then we'll go back. We'll do the same thing with the pink and the white. Just with the white to the outside. And if you get in more white than you wanted, you can always go back with a little bit of pink and calm that down. So I think that's about it. There comes a time in a painting when you can do so much that you don't like it anymore, and I think I'm borderline there. So anyway, that's what we've got. Cute little Valentine painting. If you want this tracer, you can find it in my shop, and I will link that in the comments. Thank you so much for watching.